And with 3 blasts of the whistle, that means we are going to be moving backwards. Yes, I did say backwards. Now, some of you lazy folks, this movement is intentional, and we complete it for 2 reasons. By using this lower track of our line, we will be backing underneath the high bridge section of our tracks. And once those 2 points intersect, we will then be completing the loop section of our line. And living up to the name as the Georgetown Loop. After all, it is a near replica of the original Devil's Gate Viaduct, which was built in the winters of 1883 and 80. After it being cut up for scrap, it was then rebuilt 100 years later in the summers of 1983 and 84 of heavy grade steel at a cost of $1 million, thankfully donated by the Venture Foundation. Now folks, this new bridge that we're crossing under is said to be at least 5 times as strong as the original one, which I'd like to think is a very good thing, as the old-timers would say that it would sway back and forth and sag. Just kidding, folks, it doesn't sway whatsoever, and if it did, your tickets would be a lot cheaper. And speaking of tickets, I do ask that you please have those out and ready so that my conductor and I may give them a validation punch. And don't worry, I'll pick up your history narration once we depart from the little town of Silver Plume. Until then, sit back and relax and enjoy your journey with our diesel-electric 1934 over the Georgetown Loop Railroad. the Silver Plume Guard, just as the trains did nearly 150 years ago. Here we will be making a stop at our original 1884 depot. Now we'd like to give you all 15 minutes here on our layover, so I ask that you please be back on board by 1:45, as 1:45 will be our departure time. And during this time, I do advise everyone to please remain seated and to keep all body parts inside the train as we approach the platform. For those of you who are still on board the train, our engine will be passing by. Feel free to wave hi to our hard-working crew, but please, no high fives. Alrighty folks, and with those 3 blasts of our locomotive, we are off. And I believe I did promise a history lesson, so I'll go ahead and get into that now. Now folks, the railroad that you're riding today is a reconstructed portion of the old Georgetown, Breckenridge, and Leadville Railroad, otherwise known as the GP&L, and sometimes referred to as the going backwards and lanes. Although the first mountain railroad in this area was the Colorado Central Railroad that began construction in Denver in 1870, and then it came west following Clear Creek through the towns of Arvada, Golden, Idaho Springs, and then finally reaching Georgetown in 1877. Now shortly thereafter, the GP&L would build to form a connection that would come up through the town of Silver Plume, tunnel beneath the Continental Divide at Loveland Pass, and then it would drop down into those rich mining towns of Breckenridge and Leadville. Now after building only 5 miles west, because as the U.S. kept expanding west, they realized there's a lot of this silver ore to be found, and that it might not be as valuable. So the government decided to back the U.S. dollar with just one standard instead of 2, that being the gold standard, of course. Now with mining taking a plummet, how do you think this railroad were to make money? With tourism, of course, as it would bring as many as 7 trains a day from the Denver's Union Station up here to Silver Plume. As many people went. Alrighty, folks, we have indeed made a safe stop. And if you have that mine tour, come on down. Alrighty, folks, the train should be moving here soon. Now, if you guys were to take that mine tour, we would guide you down this gravel trail where you have seen everyone walking down. And we take you to a small wooden wagon. There's not much significance to that wagon, although it does make for a great landmark, as it is right beside the entrance to that Lebanon portal. And that portal would take you 1,200 feet back into the mountain, where it stays a nice cool 43 degrees year-round. It's dry so rich that they were able to line the streets with silver. So they deemed the name of this valley to be Georgetown. Now the Upper Clear Creek Valley would have produced over $200 million worth of silver. Well, that was. Now coming up to the right, you'll see that stone mine trench, which was actually the beginning to that tunnel. You'll also see a large rusty machine and building foundation. And that machine is part of an Ingersoll Rand air compressor that was used to power all the And the foundation is what remains of the boiler house. A fun fact about Hall Tunnel, it is perhaps one of the longest lasting mine sites in the state of Colorado and our nation, as it would only close its doors in 1942, outlasting the Sherman Silver Purchase Act in 1893, World War I, the wrath of the Great Depression, and the scrapping of this original railroad in 1939, as the cold waters of Clear Creek will be 100 feet below us, and the lower track of our loop 75 feet so. And just then you'll realize you're feeling a little colder. I know, but it's pretty bad. Anyways, if that didn't do the trick, my advice is to just not look down. Now out to the right, sitting at the foot of Saxon Mountain, is a view of all of downtown historical Georgetown, which perhaps has the highest per capita of Victorian homes and buildings in our nation. You'll also see Saxon Mountain sporting some of those gold mine tailings I had talked about earlier. Hear that whistle sequence? Be sure to stop, look, and listen, as all moving trains always have the right of way. In fact, a full-size freight train going at least 55 miles an hour can take a little over a mile and a half to come to a complete stop. For the fourth and final time of our descending journey. And I've also noticed the complexity of the Georgetown loop as we spiral back around ourselves to complete a maximum rate of 4.2%. I would like to tremendously thank everyone for choosing us. And of course, we'd love to see you all again real soon. Welcome back to the Devil's Gate Station. Your elevation 8,615 feet above sea level. Thank you folks and have a lovely day.